welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla and it is time. We are here. We are going to be talking about my top books of 2023. I feel like this is the year that I really figured out like what my reading taste is. You know, I've only gotten back into reading over the past couple of years, and at the beginning I was just reading what was very popular, and while I still love to read some of the most popular books, I feel like this was the year I really figured out like what my reading taste is, what books I gravitate towards, which ones I know I can pass on, and oh my god, I had so many good reads as I was figuring this out. I am so excited to share these with you. However, narrowing it down to a top 15 was so beyond difficult. I'm telling you, I read upwards of like 175 books this year, so a top 15 was very hard. I was trying to do a top 10 and it's just not happening, so we have a top 15, but I also do have some honorable mentions and my top graphic novel slash manga of the year, because I did get into graphic novels and manga this year, but I will leave those in the description as well as a pinned comment, so you can kind of see what my honorable mentions were, what my top graphic novel slash manga was. I think if I go over it in this video out loud, it's just going to be too long. It's just going to be too long, and I really want to gush about these top 15, so check out the description as well as the pinned comment if you want to see what my honorable mentions were and the graphic novels and manga. So I think it's time we dive in. We're going to count down from number 15 all the way down to number 1, and let's just go ahead and get started. So coming in at number 15, actually like snuck in there right at the end, is Bookshops Bonedust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes. Read Legends and Lattes last year. It ended up on my top list as well. I freaking love that book so much, and as soon as I read the prequel, I was like, oh no, this is like weaseling its way in there. But what I loved about this one, not only was it like just as cozy and give you the found family vibes, which like if you know anything about me, found family is my jam. It is my favorite trope. I love it so much. So not only does it give you that, but this one was actually a little bit more high stakes than Legends and Lattes. Don't get me wrong, I love the low stakes of Legends and Lattes. Like, I love it. There's a time and a place for it, and I'm here for it. But this one was like just slightly higher stakes, a little bit more fantastical, and I love that because I love fantasy, and it still felt so cozy, and I just love it. And some of the characters that we are introduced to, like this little pug bird situation, his name is Pot Roast. Could there be a better name? I don't think so, but there's also the introduction of a few other characters, a few other fantastical characters, and I just loved every single minute of it. I cannot wait to see what Travis Baldree does next. Like, even if he stays in this world, I'm here for it, but I just want to see what he's going to do outside of this world, because I just know it's going to be absolutely friggin' incredible. This one is probably going to be a little bit shocking for like how far back it is on the list, but I just read so many good things this year and it was so hard to put them into order, so take this with a grain of salt. But the next one, number 14, is We Spread by Ian Reid. I read this like way at the beginning of the year, so maybe that has something to do with why it's so far back. But just because it's number 14 doesn't mean it's not a new all-time favorite, because I freaking love this book. The emotional hit that this book packs is like none other, especially if you have a family member that suffers with dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss, or is just getting older. This book really just hits you in all of the feels, and it just brings you somewhere. This one we are following Penny, and Penny is a senior, and she is living alone after her partner has passed away, but has started to realize that her memory is starting to slip, so she gets placed in a facility, and some things start to go on there, but you're not really sure if it's just Penny's mind slipping or if there's actually something more like sinister at bay. And that's something that I love that Ian Reid does, is he brings question into all of his plot lines. Like, it makes you really think, like, is this something going on, or is there like a perfectly rational explanation for everything? And oh my gosh, I love it. It really is like such an understated horror that Ian Reid does so well, and it really, like I said, packs a punch in this one and really drives home that emotional like side of just getting older. And if you have a fear of getting older, or it's just something that you think about all the time, this one also is very hard hitting, and that is something that I think about. But I also have a grandmother who, you know, is going through a lot of similar things that Penny is going through, and that just really destroyed me. So I love it. The writing is gorgeous. I tabbed this up like a mofo. I love this book. I love Ian Reid. I will stand by him until the end of time. Speaking of horror, coming in at number 12 is Motherthing by Ainsley Hogarth. This is my kind of horror. If it's not understated horror like Ian Reid, it is weird, twisted horror. Not overly graphic, although the ending of this book, what the frick? I freaking love it. This one really explores the themes of mother relationships, obviously, Motherthing. So like childhood trauma, mother relationships, mother-in-law relationships, being a daughter, mental health, depression, suicide, like so many things this book has packed within it, but it's done in such a weird, twisted way. This is just a wild ride, and it goes in a direction that I just truly was not expecting, and I loved it. It is weird, it is twisted, and the ending had me just like screaming, but like in the best way. I was like, what am I reading? But I love this. And it also kind of leaves that ambiguous ending. Like, you're like, is this really happening? Is this like a weird fever dream that's happening? Is this a dream that's happening within the book? Like, what is going on? And then it just kind of ends, and I love that. I love an ending like that that kind of makes you question everything and is up for interpretation. I have my interpretation of it, and I know that some of my friends who have read this have their own interpretation of it, and I just love it. It's such a good conversation book. This is the perfect book for a book club because we have those deeper themes, but it's also just done in like a weird, twisty way, and I just feel like this is going to be a book that either people love or hate, and I loved it. Like, absolutely loved it. I need to find more horror recommendations like this. So if you have read this and you have more weird, twisty horror recommendations based off of this, please leave it in the comments because I need more. Coming in at number 12, we have one of my favorite thrillers of the year, and that is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I know this is kind of a polarizing opinion, but I loved this book, okay? This is one of the best thrillers I have ever read. The atmosphere in this book is incredible. From the snowed in kind of sheltered in place situation to the actual house / estate that they're staying in, and then you throw on toxic female friendships on top of it, and then you throw in books within books, and then you throw in the thrilling elements of it. I mean, could I ask for anything more? I don't think so. In this one, we are following Alex, and Alex has recently had a falling out with her best friend, which if you've ever been through a friendship breakup, ooh, they hit. Ooh, they hit different. It's worse than a romantic breakup, in my opinion. They are not a good time. So she has recently gone through a friendship breakup, and she gets this opportunity from her favorite author to go to this house with a bunch of other contestants, and while they're there, they have to complete a full novel. It's kind of like a contest, and at the end, whoever has the best one will get this publishing deal, etc. And when they get there, things start to go awry. She meets all of the other contestants, realizes that her ex-best friend is also one of the contestants, and things just get awkward and sticky and weird real fast, and I love it. There's also a bit of like a gothic story element within this book on top of the other books that the girls are writing, and oh my god, I just love it. If you love books within books, you're basically getting a double whammy with this, and it's so enjoyable. And then, like I said, you add in the thrilling elements with like some of it is like a bit extreme, but some of it, oh my god, if you're just having a blast while reading this, just suspend your belief enough and just have a good time, because oh my gosh, I loved the ending of this. And then the last like chapter slash epilogue, ooh, I loved it. I loved the way it ended. It's one of my favorite endings in a thriller. I just think it was so well done. Explores those female friendships so well. It just was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a blast, and it was weird, twisted, and I just clearly love me some weird, twisted read. Keep rolling with the thrillers, because coming in at number 11 is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This might be one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I mean, clearly, I'm gonna say that a lot, but like truly, I loved this. This has so many elements of thrillers that I love in it, especially it being mixed media. And if I could give you any sort of recommendation, it would be to listen to this on audio, because the audiobook for this is actually a work of art. The narrators who narrate this, oh my goodness, they give it the extra mile. It's almost like they are acting in this like drama movie. It's so good, like to the point where one of our characters is like screaming in here, and she is like full on screaming in the audiobook, and it's a bit jarring. It happens a number of times, but it's so good. It's not jarring in a way that like takes you out of it. It's a jarring that like grips you in, and I just loved it so much. One of the things that I love about this book is like you can totally see it happening in real life. Like if you have ever listened to a true crime podcast or any sort of podcast where they're bringing on just everyday kind of people, you could totally see this happening in real life, and that's terrifying. And that just brings an element of this book to life like that much more. I just love how this book was done. I love the mixed media, the podcast element mixed in. I do think that trope is getting a little bit overdone, but in this book it was just done so incredibly well. And where this book goes is just wild and twisted, and it just keeps going and going, and you're like, this cannot get any worse, and then it gets worse, and then it gets worse. And the ending is just so convoluted, but like in the best way. And I had a blast while reading this. Like I said, I listened to the audiobook, and that's how I would suggest doing it, because it's truly one of the ones that will like stop you dead in your tracks while you're listening to it. It's so hard to do other things while listening to this book, because you're just so in it, and then things start happening, and you're like, I was trying to do the dishes, and I'm like, I can't do the dishes. I just have to stand here and listen to what's going on. And I just love that about it, and that's why it's on this list. All right, we are entering the top 10. I can't believe this. So coming in at number 10, I have my friend Kendall to thank for this, because she recommended this book, and I am so happy that I took her recommendation, and that is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I loved every single minute of this book, and I just wish I could read it again for the first time. This is a dark, witchy YA book, and if you know anything about me, you know I love me some YA, but this is actually extremely dark, and I loved that. I love that it went there. First of all, let's talk about the writing in here, because it is absolutely stunning. Shay Earnshaw has a way with words. I have since gone on to read another one of hers, and I can truly say that she is like something special. Her writing is absolutely gorgeous, and it's so well done in this one. It's absolutely stunning. Her descriptions, it's not overly done. It's perfect. I need to go back and reread this so I can annotate it, because I purchased this after I read it, and oh, There are so many moments in here that I want to like go back and annotate and remember the quotes of because it was absolutely beautiful. So not only do we have gorgeous writing, but I just love this story so much. It's such a unique take on a witchy story, while also being weirdly kind of comforting at the same time and like recognizable. That sounds contradictory, but like it's so well done in here that it makes sense. So in this one, we are following three sisters, and back in the day, they were sentenced to death for being assumed that they were witches, and the way that they were sentenced to death is by drowning. And every year since then, they come back and embody three teens in the town and unalive them to seek their revenge. And oh, like yes, it's dark, but it's so well done, and it's just, I love it. It gives like the comforting nostalgia of like the Sanderson sisters. Obviously, kind of we have the same thing where we have three sisters who want to seek their revenge and steal the souls of children. So we have the nostalgia of that, but this being like a million times darker. And I love the introductory of water in here. I just feel like that really added a different kind of element to it and brought the story to life a little bit more. And then also we have some really great characters. We also get a few different perspectives in here, but it's not in a confusing way, and you're not left like, who was that again? Who was that again? It's so well done. It's such a seamless timeline. Oh my god, I could rave about this until I'm blue in the face, but trust me, if you are looking for a dark witchy book, like this is it. Put this on your TBR for next fall. It had to be on this list. It had to. I am actually obsessed, so thank you, Kendall. Perfect recommendation. I can't gush about it enough. Number 9 is truly one of the more heartfelt books on this list, if not the most heartfelt book on this list, and that is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This got me in my feels. Y'all know I do not cry a lot when it comes to books. Sometimes I get a little misty, but it's very rare that I have like full-on tears, and I was crying at the end of this book, okay? Like it just got to me, and none of the subject matter in here is like relatable for me. So that's saying something right there. That is saying something. I freaking love this book and this story and these characters so much. It also just has such an air of nostalgia to it, and I just truly fell in love with every aspect of it. I kind of felt like I was reading a nostalgic kids book, like almost. Obviously, as an adult, like it just felt like I was going back and reading, you know, Lemony Snicket's or what have you, and just having like the absolute blast, while it also packing such an emotional punch. And oh my god, the ending, it really got me. It really got me. I also love that we have like the game going on in this book as well. I'm a sucker for a book with a contest, with a game. I love it. It just adds this kind of like intense element to it. If you are looking for like a cozy book with a heartfelt story with like a beautiful, absolutely beautiful ending, this book is for you. It's incredible. I absolutely loved every single minute of it. This is another one where I wish I could go back and read it for the first time because woo, so many emotions. This one is one of my favorite YA horror slash thrillers. It has everything that I love in that genre, and it is My Dearest Darkest by Kayla Cottingham, coming in at number 8. This is a dark academia, which you say that, and I'm going to show up every single time. You know that. I love dark academia. This is compared to being like the YA version of Bunny, of The Craft, of Heathers, all of that. So you have all of those buzzwords, and that's really what drew me into this. And I would say it definitely gives Bunny slash Craft vibes in YA form. And it's so good. I freaking love this book. It also has a little bit of like a fantastical slash witchy element to it, which really just pulls the Craft vibes in, and I absolutely ate it up. This is also queer, which we love to see. Love it, love it, love it, especially in YA, but like across the board, we have a lot of representation in here and I love it. I just love how dark this got. And again, I just love all of those vibes. I also love their romance that's happening in here, the deeper talk about mental health and beauty in here. There's so much packed into this book and it's so well done. The twists were twisty, and I also really loved the audiobook for this as well. This is one of the books that definitely sparked my YA horror rabbit hole, and I'm so happy about it. This is truly an all-time fave. I had to include it on this list. There's just no way that this didn't make it. I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised to see this author on this list. Coming in number 7 is Nettle Bone by T. Kingfisher. I have talked about this book and T. Kingfisher so much on my channel. I really don't think this is going to be shocking to anyone. I absolutely love this story. I love T. Kingfisher's writing. I need more books like this from T. Kingfisher. There have been some duds. I did have some duds on my worst books of the year, which you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the cards as well as below. There were some T. Kingfishers on there, but oh my goodness, this had to be on my favorites list. It is one of my favorite dark, cozy fantasies, which just sounds, again, contradictory, but it works. It works, and it's so well done in this one. This is like a dark fairy tale, but make it a little bit cozy. It's extremely short, and I absolutely adore this story. This includes found family, which again is one of my favorite tropes ever. It's very dark and sinister, and the characters that she meets along the way are just absolute perfection. There's also a bone dog in here, which is like pictured on the front of this book, and it is one of my favorite things. This book is absolutely stunning. Like the end page, are you kidding? For some reason, this is such a cozy read. Like, I found such comfort in reading this, which just sounds so weird, but like, I just love short, impactful fantasies like this that are really dark and have this really dark tone to them, but can just make you feel like you are just in the story and you just get wrapped up in it. And I think that's what it is. It's like, you feel like you just need to like wrap up in a blanket, light a candle, get a hot drink, and just like dive into it. So I think like that's the cozy vibe to it, but it's perfect. I absolutely love it. I need more from T. Kingfisher like this. Like, I need a series of dark fairy tale-esque fantasies. That would be a dream come true. An absolute dream. This next one is one of those books that I read earlier in the year and has just stuck with me ever since. It's a book that I think about all of the time, and it is a book that I crave the next in the series, but I have to wait so long for it, and it's really killing me, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I have read Bloodmarked as well. I loved that just as much. Okay, maybe not just as much. The first one is definitely superior, but I need the rest of this series like as soon as possible, and I don't think it's coming till like 2025, 2026. Are you kidding? I'm gonna have to do obviously a reread before that comes out, but there is no way that this didn't end up on this list. I am obsessed, and I wasn't sure that I was going to really connect with this book, that I was really gonna like it, because this is kind of a King Arthur retelling, and I just was like, okay, I know a little bit, like a minuscule amount about that whole King Arthur era. Like, I've watched Monty Python, I know a little bit about like the lore, obviously Monty Python, you know what I mean, but like, I've seen those movies, I know a little bit about the lore, but like, was I actually going to like a fantasy around that? But this is done in such a modern way and really explores the effects of generational trauma and generational secrets while also being extremely relevant in political and racial conversations. And oh my gosh, it's like wrapped up in a beautiful bow inside this book, and I absolutely devoured this, and I was so excited to read the sequel like immediately afterwards. It leaves you on such an incredible kind of cliffhanger, and you just need it. And then the second one leaves you on a cliffhanger. Now I'm like, impatiently waiting. Oh my god, I love it. Like I said, it really dives into racial conversations, generational trauma, cultural traditions. It just explores so many deep conversations while also exploring grief and what that's like as a teen or just as anyone going through that, and what that can look like when you don't necessarily have the tools to process it correctly. It also brings a lot of conversations around mental health and mental blocks and what that can look like around grief as well, and just like as a human. Oh my gosh, there are so many deeper themes in this book, but it's so incredibly well done, and it's so fun at the same time. While we're exploring all of these deeper conversations, there's a lot of fantastical things going on that are really exciting. We also have a bit of a competition side going on. We also have a weird romance slash love triangle, which like I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then the themes of the King Arthur thing start to play in, and you start to unravel that more and more. It's just incredible. The writing is amazing. I love these characters with my whole heart. We also have a bit of found family, which you will have seen is truly my favorite thing. I love me some found family. So whenever it's introduced, I grasp onto it. I now seek out stories with it because this is my absolute favorite thing. We have found family in here, and just this band of characters, and they all have different talents, and it's just so incredibly well done. I'm in love with it. If you have not checked out the series yet, please do. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, we have arrived at the top 5. I cannot believe this. I cannot. Okay, deep breaths. Coming in at number 5 is The Dead in the Dark by Courtney Summers. This is truly one of my favorite YA horrors I have ever read. This has so many elements that I love in here. Where do I even begin? Where do I even begin? This is queer, small town, kind of mixed media in an interesting way, super dark, and actually goes there. I just love that this book really goes in a direction that you don't quite expect, because we have so many other books that kind of have a human explanation for things, but this book has a way of telling a story in such a dark, twisted way, and I absolutely loved it. I also love the conversation of like small town and how queer people get treated in a small town, because her dads are being looked at in a extremely harsh light. Also, Logan herself is not quite sure of her sexuality, so she's really kind of exploring that. So it really goes into what life can look like for a queer person in a small town that's really not very accepting, and also themes of mental health and all of that. And it just, there's so many deeper themes going on here, and I love the way it was done, while also being an extremely haunting story in so many different ways. And I love the introduction of the TV show. I love all of the characters we have in here, and I just love how dark this is. It's so creepy. Like, The Dead in the Dark is the perfect title for this book, and I absolutely love it. It's seriously one of my top YA horror recommendations. Like, if you are looking to get into YA horror, ooh, this is an amazing place to start, and I just absolutely love it. This is also one of my favorite covers. I just think it's absolutely stunning. The fact that this was her debut, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I did read her second book that came out. I didn't enjoy it as much as this one, but the fact that she put this out as a debut, stop. Absolutely perfection, and I will continue to read from her because this is something. Number 4 is going to be no surprise to anyone. Honestly, this top 4 is probably going to be not a surprise to anyone, but number 4 specifically, not going to be a surprise to anyone, because I have talked about this book and this series to so many people, so many times on my channel, on my Instagram. I have recommended to so many people. pull, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this is me. This is the epitome of what I love in YA so much, but also I just feel like this series was made for me. I am a Criminal Minds stan, okay? I know, a weird show to stan, okay? It's a show about serial killers, and I know there's a whole conversation about how we glamorize serial killers, whatever. I just love the show, okay? I cannot help it. It is a comfort show for me at this point. That's weird to say out loud as well. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. But anyways, I'm a Criminal Minds stan. I also love YA thrillers and horrors. So this is like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Criminal Minds had a baby with like a sprinkle of the Inheritance games in there. Have you heard of something more perfect? I don't think you have. And if you haven't read this and you are a fan of Criminal Minds, you need to. You absolutely need to. And in my opinion, the series, like, it's all good. I would say that the first one and the last one are my faves. I think those are incredible, but it just continues so seamlessly throughout, and you can't help but want to read the next one. I'm truly in love with this. Like I said, this is going to be for a specific audience. If you do not care about the FBI, if you don't care about, you know, cold cases, and if you don't care about FBI profiling, if you don't like things like that, dealing with serial killers, all that, you're probably not going to enjoy this. But if that is something you are interested in, you also enjoyed the Inheritance games, you enjoyed A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, you will enjoy this. This is absolutely your cup of tea if you are that person. So, to all my fellow Criminal Minds stans out there, I'm telling you right now, read this series. I need more people to talk about this with. I need more people to talk about it with. And coming in at number 3 is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. The second I finished this book, I wanted to reread it immediately. I did not want this book to end. I want to be back in this world. This is like a dark academia, gothic romantasy, and it is absolutely perfect. I love it. First of all, the atmosphere in here, 10 out of 10. 10 out of freaking 10. Oh my god, I love it so much. Not only for the time period that we are in, but also we are in this kind of creepy house that sits on a cliff that gives all of the gothic vibes you could imagine, but also all of the creepy vibes that you could imagine. This is not like a nice house. This one we are following Effie. Effie desperately wants to be a writer, but the time period we are in, girls are not allowed in the writing college, so she has to settle for being in architect school. And while she's in school, something horrific happens to her, but she also gets the opportunity to go to this house and kind of draw up plans for redoing the house. Now, the thing about this house is it's actually owned by her favorite author. Her favorite author has since passed away, but she has really connected with his work, so she's like, oh my god, I have to take this opportunity to like go to his home and like see where he got his inspiration and da 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 da. His wife still lives there and his son, and so she goes, takes this opportunity, and when she gets there, she realizes this is kind of an impossible task. She's not really quite sure why she's specifically there, and then while she's there, she also meets another student who is doing research for his writing papers and all of that, so she's kind of already a little bit jealous of him because he's a writer and she wanted to be in that program. They kind of have this like rival off the bat, and it's just everything that you want and more. I absolutely ate this book up. I love everything about it. I love everything about it. There's also such a deeper meaning in here about what it's like to be a woman in certain fields and what it's like to get some opportunities and to not get some opportunities. Also a little bit of a story about revenge and like how people will get theirs in the end. And oh my gosh, I loved every single second of this book. I just, like I said, wanted to dive back into it immediately, and I love unraveling the mystery that is going on in here. Everything about it is absolute perfection. I need to read more from Ava Reed in 2024 because this is amazing. I cannot gush about it enough. So I just know that like I need to dive into her backlist. I also know she has a kind of Macbeth retelling coming out. I'm not even really that into Shakespeare, but I'm gonna read it. This is truly an all-time favorite. Like also these last kind of books all have the same vibe. Okay. And the second I started reading it, I knew it was going to be a 5-star, and I knew it was going to be on this list. Little did I know how far up on this list it was going to be, but it can't stand anywhere else because it is absolutely incredible. It's not going to be a shock to anyone, and it is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Are you kidding me with this book right now? Are you kidding me? Again, another YA romantasy. If you like You've Got Mail, this book is for you. This book is for you because this is like You've Got Mail, but add war, add a little bit of fantasy to it. You're done. You're sold. You don't need anything else. The writing in here is incredible. You will fall in love with our characters. You will fall in love with everyone that she encounters along the way. The story takes a turn and is devastating and is left with you literally on the edge of your seat, which is why we are so excited for the sequel, because this leaves you on a cliffhanger and you're just like, what? But now we have the sequel. So sad it's just a duology, but I don't know how to express my feelings about this book correctly. I love it. I absolutely love it, and it is 1000% worth the hype. You might think it's overhyped. It is not. It deserves all of the praise that it's getting. Absolutely stunning. It's amazing. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. We are here. We have reached the #1 slot, and I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone because I have talked about this book till I'm literally blue in the face. I have recommended this book. Every single time I see someone that is reading this book, I squeal with excitement. I comment. I tell them how excited I am. I tell them they need to message me afterwards and let me know their thoughts and feelings, but not if they hated it, because that's how much I love it, that I need only good things, good vibes surrounding this book. I will not stand for a negative review. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Are we surprised? We are not. I read this so long ago, like at the beginning of the year, and truly it has held the #1 spot the entire year. At no point did I question that this was going to be my #1 book of the year. This has everything that I could ever possibly want in a book. Every element of things that I love from all of these books are encapsulated in here. We have gorgeous writing. This is a YA fantasy, but it is extremely dark. It's scary. It follows a mystery. It's a bit gothic. I absolutely adore this book. I am a huge fan of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This gives me YA Addie LaRue vibes, and I have seen other people say that they don't subscribe to that, but truly I believe that, and it is one of my favorite books of all time, so I feel confident saying that. The interesting thing about Signa is that she can see Death himself, and Death comes to visit her, and they start to form a bit of a relationship. So we have that element to it that is very much like Addie LaRue, you know, connecting with like the devil kind of creature. We have Signa who can connect with Death. So that's kind of where the fantastical element come in. She also can see other ghosts and that kind of thing. And then there's also a mystery afoot inside of Thorngrove, which is the estate that she's staying at with the Hawthorns. So there's a bit of a mystery going on in there in terms of her cousin being sick and then also some other things going on. So we're unpacking a mystery as well. So you have ghosts, you have gothic vibes, you have a mystery, you have Death himself, you got a bit of a romance going on while also intertwining like the time period that we're in. Oh my god, this has everything that I love so much. I love the writing in this book. It's absolutely incredible. I loved the sequel. Not as much as this one, but I still loved the sequel. I love our characters. I love where the mystery goes. I love the relationship between Signa and Death. This book is described as like intoxicating, and that's honestly the only way that I can describe my feelings for this book is absolutely intoxicating. The second I read this book, I was like, I'm in this world. I cannot get out of it. I have been stuck in this world ever since. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with this book. I'm obsessed with the story. I love all of these characters. I love where it went. I love everything about it. This is truly a work of art to me. Not only this cover and the actual like inside of the book is truly like a freaking work of art, but this entire story is a work of art. I do not have anything else to say about it because I'm just gonna keep going. Number one, like truly number one. I don't know if a book is ever going to top this for me. I cannot stop thinking about it. This book is engraved in my brain forever. I'm truly in love with this book. And like I said, it stuck with me the entire year. I'm in it. I'm in Belladonna. I'm in this world forever and ever. And that is it. Those are my top 15 books of 2023. Like I said, this list was so hard to pare down, but I really think I nailed it in the end there. These top 15 really do reflect my reading taste of this year, and they are some of my favorite books of all time. So I hope you enjoyed. If you see some of your favorites on this list, please let me know in the comments. Let's just gush about all of these books a little bit more because that's truly what they deserve. I'm in love with all of them, but I also would love to know what your favorite book of the year was. Do you have a like stark clear number one? Do you have a top three? Please let me know what they are in the comments. Also, if you have any recommendations based off of this list, also leave that because yes, I want to read all of the things that just bring me joy in 2024 that are like these. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one in 2024. Bye!
With you and I, the future is bright.